Hey everyone, today I'm taking a look at a small box roll and write game called Splitter. This one takes around 15 minutes to play and it accommodates 1 to 12 players according to the box, but technically you can play this with however many people you want as long as everybody has a sheet, a pencil, and you can communicate a dice roll. So the game is going to come with a pair of dice, it's going to come with a bunch of wooden pencils and a couple of different score pads depending on the version you want to play. But the actual core mechanisms of the game work exactly the same, but there are a few very minor differences between the sheets, and one of which is the actual shape itself, and the other of which is that one has these little heart symbols on, which we'll touch on very shortly. But let's just use this one to show you how the game mechanisms work. So all you're going to do on your turn, you're going to roll the pair of dice here, and then you can see with the two numbers there, you're going to write one number anywhere you want on the sheet. So let's just say I wrote a 2 here. And without much thought going on here, then you have to write the opposite number, again the 3, on the other side of this dotted line, but in the mirrored image. So the 3 would have to go here like this. And everybody's going to write down no matter who rolls the dice. So then the dice will pass on to the next player, they'll roll both the dice again. And again, you can roll the following dice. So let's just say I wrote the 2 here now, and of course the 1 would have to go here. So I should explain what we're actually trying to achieve here. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create groups of numbers of that particular type in the size of that type. So you want 2 2s together, you want the single 1s together, and so on. You want 3 3s together, 4 4s together. And obviously the more you roll these dice, the more you fill up your sheet, that sheet is going to get tighter and tighter, and it's going to be harder to achieve those goals. But at the moment, you can see I've technically done a group of 2 here, so this is a good thing to aim towards. But if I ever was forced or end up rolling another 2 here like this, then that is actually going to sabotage the other 2, because that is no longer a group of 2, it'll be a group of 3. So you need to be exactly right in what you roll. And then again, every single number you roll at the end, or every group or correct group, is going to give you a number of points equal to that number. So if you have a perfect group of 6, then you're going to get 6 points and so on. If you have 2 groups of 6, that'd be 12 points. Now, if you ever get a perfect group on these stars like this, so say I ended up looking like this or something, obviously there'll be a mirror image on the other side somehow, but if that ever ended up like this and you get that perfect group there with the crossing over the star, then those points are going to be doubled. So this group would be worth 6 points rather than the usual 3. So just to reiterate on scoring here, I've completed a sheet of the other type, and you can see I've scored all the points accordingly to the side. So I've got 6 individual 1s, not touching other ones. I've got 2 groups of 2 for 4 points. I've got 2 groups of 3s. I've got 1 group of 4, 1 group of 5. I didn't manage to roll any groups of 6s. And this sheet here, you have this heart symbol on as well. And if you ever roll 3 or ever insert 3 of the same number on those hearts, then you get a bonus 5 points. And that's essentially how Splitter works. You'll keep on playing until every single square is filled, then the player with the most points will be the winner. Alternatively, if you are playing solo, then you'll simply compare your score to the book here, which will give you a grading on how well you've done. Okay, so let's get into my thoughts on Splitter. So you can tell there this game is ultra simple. It's so easy to explain and you can get it going without much rules explanation at all. And this is a nice kind of throwback to when roll and write games were as simple as it gets. You're finding as more and more games are entering this space, trying to compete to be the best roll and write game, they're adding more and more rules, more complexity, and these kind of simpler games like this are starting to get pushed to the wayside. But I think this is a really nice resurgence for a game like this. But it still adds a twist or two to keep things interesting. That simple mechanism of having to mirror the other side is something I haven't seen before. It's quite genius, really, and it's very satisfying, and it's a nice squeezing puzzle because again, when you start entering numbers onto this grid, it feels like, you can easily have a bit of manipulation. You can move things around as you see fit. You can place things and give yourself a lot of space. But all of a sudden, every single turn, you're filling 2 boxes, and then it's getting squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter, where your options are becoming more limited with every single roll. And, that idea of potentially sabotaging your group of numbers is quite a hard thing to overcome, because you might have a couple of 2s lined up, and all of a sudden you're forced to put another 2, which will kind of connect all of them together and again ruin you getting all those points at the end game scoring. That added tension of trying to double your points on the stars is quite an interesting thing to manage as well, because of course you want to be going for your sixes, because the sixes is going to give you a massive 12 points if you get those double points, but it's not always that often that you get to roll 6 sixes. Maybe you won't roll 6 sixes, and then you'd start something here and not finish it like I've done here, which has kind of wasted that star opportunity. Or are you going to play it a bit safer by playing a lower number and more confidently get that completed, but it's not going to score you as many points? And again, with this sheet, you can even try get the exact same number on the hearts, which is another thing to try and manage. So maybe maybe you want to put your ones there and just create those one groups of ones to get those safe points in the bag and get those extra 5 points for completing those hearts. The uptime for this game is fantastic, as all you're doing is rolling the dice, and then everybody is just writing these numbers down. So there's not really, there's no waiting for other people to take their turn. There might be a second or two where they take longer than you, but generally you are invested from start to finish. And in a 15-minute game, it just absolutely flies by, and it'll probably leave you wanting to play the game again. There is absolutely no player interaction in this game at all. You're going to have your head down in your own sheet and only worry about your own puzzle and not really think about what other people are doing. The only thing you're worrying about is trying to beat their scores. It is quite nice that the game provided 2 different maps you can play with. This one's a bit simpler, where you just have a more kind of contained grid without the gaps and things. So that's quite nice if you want to use this one as a kind of an introductory level game. And this one adds just that extra rule of wanting to get the same numbers on the hearts, and it makes it a bit more jarring in terms of where you're going to put these things, because they don't all connect all together, and these little narrow runways that make things a little bit more difficult. But it's perfectly fine to play either one regardless of your experience, but it's just nice to spice it up a bit depending on which mood you're in. But yeah, the replayability is mainly based on the tactical element of the play, always reacting to the dice rolled, and you're not really going to go into this game with a different approach, but again, you're always reacting to what's in front of you. You can see here that the components are literally just a couple of books, but you do get quite a lot of sheets to get a lot of replayability out of them. It's a shame that they weren't double-sided to get that extra level of, more sheets to play with. But the game is so affordable. I think this one cost me about £6 to £8, so very cheap and not going to be breaking the bank to play it. The dice quality themselves is actually quite good. They're quite weighty dice, and the pencils are fine. So yeah, no issues at all with the production, and it's probably what you'd expect with a simple, straightforward roll and write game. Okay, so final thoughts on Splitter. This game has been a massive pleasant surprise for me. It is as simple as it gets, but the little novelty factor and that little spin on things of having that mirrored mechanism is something I haven't seen before, and it works really well for what the game offers. Yeah, that puzzle of trying to get these big numbers together, trying to work things out, the frustration of placing things in the wrong place and trying to beat your score when you play it again. It all just shines through wonderfully in such a simple rule set that anybody can play and understand. And I think this is one of those games that you can't really not enjoy, because it is only 15 minutes and it offers quite a good experience in 15 minutes. It's not a brain dead, just waste time style of game. It is actually got your head down in your little sheet, trying to do the best you can and trying to place things as best as you can. But yeah, I like the way the game scores. I like the restrictions of the game. Again, it scales really well because it's ultra quick no matter how many players you play this with, and it's even a game I would consider playing solo. In fact, I have played it solo quite a few times, because again, it only takes 10 to 15 minutes. There's no setup, just roll a couple of dice and then you've got your head in the game and ready to go. And you're going to find yourself playing it again and again and again, because it does have that addictive factor to it. But yeah, this is one of my favourite roll and writes that I think I've ever played, despite how simple it is. I've generally not been bitten by the roll and write bug until this point, but games like this are really starting to take my fancy, and I think I'm starting to prefer them over the more heavy, the more advanced roll and write games that try a bit too hard to be different. This is, again, just a nice, stripped back, simple throwback to what roll and writes used to be, and it works extremely well. So yeah, strongly advocate picking up Splitter if you want a true filler in your collection that I think a lot of people could enjoy. And this one is going to gain my shield of quality because I'm enjoying it a lot and it's constantly hitting the table. That is Splitter. Check this one out.